Hey, what's up, Giants fans? Welcome to another episode of Giants Talk. I'm Cole Kuiper here with Giants insider Alex Pavlovic. The Giants take the series versus the Braves in the face of a lot of old friends. We'll break down what happened, some mailbag questions from listeners, and much more. Before we get started, Giants Talk is presented by Mancini's Sleep World. Mancini's is now the official sleep partner of the San Francisco Giants. You can save up to $1,200 on cooling mattresses at the Mancini's Sleep World 4th of July sale. Their cooling mattresses help regulate temperature, preventing overheating and keeping you comfortable until morning. Stop by or visit online to see what's currently available. All right, Alex, we've talked quite a bit about this season, but the Giants continue their tradition of playing surprisingly well against the league's top dogs.
Yeah, if they sneak into the postseason, the Dodgers and Braves are not going to want to face them. So they have that. They played really well against the Braves in particular. They are, the Braves are in a tough skid right now. I think they've lost like 10 or 13. They just got swept. But they're a good team. It's a good lineup. They face Chris Sale on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Some good pitching over there, even though they're missing some guys. So good series win for the Giants, a good homestand for them overall. Some disappointment involved as well, but I think overall, they haven't been able to stack series together at all this season. So they did that, which is something new.
Exactly. I believe this was their first winning homestand, which is absolutely insane that it came at or after the halfway mark of this season.
Yeah, I didn't look that up. I'm going to trust you on that one. So,
That's
but
a dangerous
right.
game.
It feels right. I mean, there's been a lot of 3-3, 2-4, worse than that at times. So they found a way to finally, carry a little bit of momentum. I do want to start here with Braves Twitter. We react so much to Giants Twitter and Giants social media, and obviously have a mailbag section every single day pretty much. Just want to run through because this showed up on my timeline and I thought it was hilarious because this Braves team, the Phillies are on their heels, like they're 3 games behind them now, but the Braves are still one of the best teams in baseball. They've had a very good season. They're going through it right now, but like Acuna's hurt, some other guys are hurt, Strider's hurt. Reading you some tweets I saw today. I won't be watching another game for a while. Let me know when this team starts giving a bleep again. Might consider watching something else. 7 shutout innings on 77 pitches. Team can't even work a count. It's over. It's over for the Braves. I've never hated a baseball team more. That's a quote tweet of their final score. Another quote tweet of their final score. Braves have been irrelevant since they let Freeman walk. Losing games to bad teams is a yearly thing ever since. Good riddance. And somebody else said, I'm done. So it's a rough time over there at Braves Twitter.
How badly can you complain when if you invert the Braves record, it's still better than the Giants?
Yeah, come over to our side for a little bit.
Seriously. Oh, wow. I'm so sorry that first place isn't quite like as far away from second place as you'd like it to be.
They are 16 games over 500.
Any fan base, whether it's the Dodgers, whether it's the Giants, whether it's the Braves, lives in a perpetual state of complaining in the modern era of sports.
Yeah. Just wanted to make everyone feel a little bit better that, they have a plus 88 run differential. They're 16 games over 500 and their fans are going through it because they've had 2 rough weeks. Try 3 months.
Yeah. So, try.
I thought that was funny.
Half a season. The Giants officially have hit the halfway point in 2026. I think when this roster got put together this offseason, obviously there were some reservations because of how basically the second half of last year went post Devers and the way they didn't really improve in the one place people wanted, which was pitching. But nobody really expected it to be as bad as it was.
Yeah, they officially hit the halfway point on pace for 96 losses. Then they win the next 2. So maybe the second half, they'll be on pace for 96 wins. Who knows? Easy trip coming in theory.
That's baseball.
Yeah. So it's not, we've harped on this twice a week for 3 months. Braves fans, we've been doing this a lot longer than you. And it's been disappointing. I think when you hit the halfway point and you officially go like, oh, this is 50% of the season gone and this is what it is. It stands out.
There have been so many of those years as Giants fans, and this is just delusional to be even saying as part of this conversation, though, where the second half has been so much worse than the first.
Yeah.
feel like you put together a quarter of the seasons over the past 10 years. Anytime they've been good, it's all fallen apart in the second half. So maybe statistically, it's due to happen the inverse way. That rough start blossoms into something more. Now, obviously, the fatigue and injuries are a big part of why that tends to happen with teams. But I just can't imagine it continues being as bad as it did the first half.
That was actually like one of the predictions I made before the season that was correct in a way, which is that I thought this was going to be the inverse, which was a rough start and then be better in the second half and make that charge. Now, I think I projected like 83 wins or 84. So I was like, didn't think it was going to be quite like this, where you need to go on like a historic pace to get back into the race.
Yep.
But it was a tough early schedule, and they knew their bullpen. The one thing they did know, I mean, I think everyone was more correct than maybe the Giants about how bad the bullpen has been, but the Giants people did know, like, that they thought in April they would lose some games as they tried to figure it out. Now, what we've seen here in June is they're still trying to figure out who's their bullpen mix. So
yes,
that part hasn't gone according to plan. But like the slow start and then come on late, I think that was part of it. And I wouldn't be shocked if, you see a series like this weekend, and now look, Robbie Ray might not be here in a month. So other guys, Luis Arias, who was a big part of the weekend, might not be here in a month. But I think you mentioned all the guys on the other side, and I went and talked to some of them, and they're all kind of asking the same thing, like, what's going on over there? And they all kind of had the same impression. They're like, you look at the lineup card and you figure that team's okay. So that's the big disappointment here, but it is what it is. They are here. They're at the halfway point. I think we'll save like our halfway awards for like the All-Star break, because we have 4 days off. But
yeah, we've reached the mathematical halfway point, but I do think the All-Star break is kind of like the vibes halfway point. And as a vibe-centric guy, I'd agree with that. I will say it seemed like every month on this podcast, we announced that the Giants have the hardest strength of schedule for the upcoming month. And right now they have one of the easiest remaining. They're number 26 out of 30.
Yeah, I think it can't get worse. Like they're not going to. We've joked about rock bottom. Like I don't think they're going to play at a 96 loss pace in the second half. Like
there's no way. Now there's a world where they start trading away the guys who kept them from being at 100 loss pace, and then we don't know what that means.
I think some of those guys are replaceable internally. So
fair.
I do think the second half will be better, but we thought the second half of the first half would be better than the first half of the first half. So
second quarter.
Yeah, it can't get worse.
Yeah.
I don't know. We keep saying that, and then like, what was it? Wednesday happens. So
yeah.
They've tested everyone's patience this year. That's for sure.
Let's talk this series in particular. First talking point I want to give a shout out to is Rafael Devers. He gets his bobblehead day on Saturday and uses it as an opportunity to just absolutely tee off 2 home runs against the Braves. Really, as someone who's been, I think it is now faded, but a major talking point over the last 2 weeks because of his fiasco at first base with Jonah Cox. It feels like, I don't know, this helped clean the slate, I think, in terms of what fans think of for Rafi Devers.
I think what fans, and I think also importantly, people on the outside, because one thing I had heard on like Monday is I'm talking to some people about what he did in Miami, and not to just keep going back to that, but like it is one of those things that other teams are looking at and going like, there's a lot of money left on this deal, and the Giants wouldn't hate discussing it. Is that the guy you want to bring in and commit to long term? And so I do think this week was a good reminder of how talented he is, and he should be hitting third or fourth for somebody. Almost anybody in Major League Baseball, he could hit third or fourth for. So it'd be, I still think that's going to be a really hard one to move, but it certainly is. They're in better shape than last Sunday when we're sitting here trying to figure out what happened and nobody had an explanation for it. He's also playing bad baseball at the time. Had a huge homestand, so they're in better shape from that perspective. Really, I think we talked about this on the last pod. Like Robbie Ray, Tyler Malley, some of the guys who are going to be discussed over the next month, they've picked it up, and Rafael Devers is in that boat as well. And to me, that is probably the biggest decision and the biggest question going into the deadline. If you put the Logan Webb thing aside, which Buster has, is are they able to? Do they want to? Does somebody else want to make a move on one of those big contracts in the next, 3, 4, 5 weeks and really shake things up here? And to even have that be remotely possible, these guys have to play well. And so I think that's from a Giants front office perspective, this was a positive week to see Rafael Devers go out and do that. And if he's here long term, which I still think he probably is going to be here at least in the second half, like, you want that guy in the lineup as opposed to the guy we've seen for long stretches of this season.
Yeah. If he's going to remain a Giant, I'd love for this to be the version he is. We spent a lot of time talking about Robbie Ray last podcast, mostly in terms of him improving his value. He just continues on that trajectory. His second 8 innings, 0 earned run appearance in as many games. So another one the front office can't be happier about, I imagine.
Yeah, he was one guy that I think there was some concern just with the way he was pitching earlier this year. And, he's mixing it up well. He's throwing his sinker a ton now. He was really like a true 5-pitch guy 2 times ago.
Mm-hmm.
Was more of a 3-pitch guy today, but again, showing 2 other pitches. So it's a different Robbie Ray. It's not quite as overpowering, but he's been very effective for a few weeks now, really all of June, for the most part. So that one to me, like, you can have different views on Arias than people do. I think people on the outside will have different views on like a Tyler Malley. But Robbie Ray is like the most cut and dry trade deadline candidate of all time. Like, it's just not of all. He's just like peak trade deadline candidate. Like, big contract up at the end of the year, left-handed pitcher, veteran, has been there before. You can throw him in someone's postseason rotation. So this is the type of thing that, like, even Giants people who are hesitant to talk about other big picture things in recent weeks, we're still kind of like, Robbie's going to be a trade chip. Like, it is what it is. And short of them running off like 15 games in a row here, like, he's good. Arizona and Colorado.
You're at me with a good time.
Let's just get you back to where you can say Giants are back, and we'll go from there. But
okay.
This is really positive because about a month ago, there was some concern internally about where this was headed for him. And like, I think they still thought they'd be able to trade him, but probably would have to take on a lot of the money and not get a lot back. And he keeps doing this for another couple of weeks. Like, it's pretty easy to kind of hit. A lot of the teams that are looking at like a Skubal or somebody like that, like, if he's not available or if he goes to, sorry to say this in front of you, but like goes to the Dodgers or something like that, and somebody else is looking for that guy who can fill the spot,
I mean,
Giants will be calling.
I have to assume that's just what's going to happen because of how the universe works and just the Dodgers get everything. So it doesn't even hurt me to hear that, Alex. That's a foregone conclusion in my heart.
Mentally prepare for it.
Yeah, if you brace yourself to be hurt, you can't be hurt.
Yeah, it's a weird time. Like, and I think even some of the questions this week post game centered around that, and some of the pregame conversations with Tony centered around that. Just of like, this is a group that's trying desperately to find any sort of momentum, but also basically everybody on the outside rationally looks at it and goes, "Okay, how are the trade chips doing?"
Mm-hmm.
And it's a weird thing, but that's just kind of the reality of this podcast is going to be up on June 29th. So we have a month and like 4 days to go.
The one guy we have heard for certain is not a trade chip is also one of the guys who we should give flowers to after this Brave series. Logan Webb, 7 shutout innings, giving up only 1 hit to one of our old pals. Always the most charming part of playing the Braves is seeing the old friends. But Logan Webb, incredible. 0.7 ERA in June. For the start he had, starting on the biggest stage in Major League Baseball's opening day, and it not going great, he has become Logan Webb again.
He's become as good as he's ever been, which is saying a lot with Logan Webb. And I think, we've talked about it here. He had to get healthy. I think that was the most important thing for him. He did take the break. He got healthy. He feels good physically. And what he's done the last month, he should be National League Pitcher of the Month. Like, I went through everybody. It's him and the Miz. And Mizorowski, he's more overpowering, but Logan has the lower ERA. He threw 10 more innings. Is it Mizorowski? I don't
Yeah.
even. Everyone just calls him the Miz. So he has more strikeouts. He obviously is hitting 105.5 miles per hour or whatever. But Logan was the better pitcher in June, and he's never been pitcher of the month. So he should win that award.
Okay, so that brings up a question. We've talked a lot about who the Giants' one All-Star would be. Is Logan Webb back in the mix as a candidate?
I think he really is. I mean, I think he has probably one more start. I kind of canvassed some people because I knew we'd talk about this on the road trip, and I'm not going to be in Arizona and be hosting pregame with Ron Wotus, and like I figured we'd talk about it there as well. And so kind of canvassed the clubhouse a little bit and some of the coaches and trying to get people's opinions. And it's really difficult for them to figure this out because I think everyone looks at Luis Arias and says he probably is the easiest choice. Jung-Hoo Lee is the popular choice. And a couple of people I talked to were like, it'd be really great just for him to be in the All-Star game, just given how popular he is and the fan base he has abroad. And then I know there's like, and Tony said this a couple of times, like there's a real push too for Casey Schmidt, who's just been, as Tony has said, like he's done something nobody else in the National League has really done this year, which is be this good a hitter and move all over the field and play left field when they need it, play first base when they need it, step in at second base, step in at shortstop on Sunday. So I think there's a case there too. And then one person last week just mentioned, they're like, don't sleep on Logan Webb. I'm like, you know what? Actually, yeah. You look at it now, and he's sneaking up on everybody. He's 12th in the National League in ERA. He's 8th in FIP. I think he has one more start before the team is announced, maybe two. But he's going to have a real shot here because he's done it before. He's obviously a star, and pitchers always have a little bit of an easier time. So
yeah,
it's going to be interesting. I would not, and I actually think if Logan were sitting here right now, he would probably not even nominate himself. He would say one of those three other guys. I wasn't very good for the start of the season, but he has put himself in the mix where I think it's now a 4-guy race in terms of who gets named to that team. And we've been under the assumption it's probably one guy, given that they're 13 games under 500.
I mean, maybe Logan Webb makes that conversation too, rather than replacing one of them. But he is, I think the fact that he is a star across Major League Baseball, regardless of how his year started, he has been there before, as you mentioned, makes him really easy to slot into a game like this. For fans around the league who are not following the tragedy that is this year's Giants team, when they see Webb on that roster, it's just like they'd be like, "Oh yeah, of course, they've got Logan Webb. He's their star." Whereas you throw a Casey Schmidt in there, and people start going, "Who the heck is this guy?"
Well, Casey would be terrific on media day.
So, absolutely. Once you get him there, once you get Lee there, once you get Casey Schmidt there, they'll win hearts.
Yeah, I think the Arias thing is everyone looks at him and goes, he's a 3-time batting champ. Everyone knows him a little bit. So it's an interesting one. I don't know. Who would you choose if you get to pick one guy?
Right now, I think it would be Jung-Hoo Lee. I think we've seen the fan reaction Jung-Hoo Lee gets at the stadium. He had, obviously, his first year got sidelined real fast. His second year still felt like he was recovering from that. And this year he's finally living up to, I think, the hype, the fandom he's getting in San Francisco, and being an international star, the ability to raise his profile more around the league would be so valuable to the Giants. And he's playing at a level that does deserve it. It sucks that the team is so bad that you have to pick, hypothetically, one of these 3 or 4 candidates. But if it was just like, hey, Cole, you're in charge of picking it, I'd probably send Lee. Now, if Arias was on like a 2-year deal, a 3-year deal, maybe my heart would be a little more shifting towards him.
Interesting. I think if I had to pick today, I'd pick Arias slightly over Schmidt. And I totally get what you're saying. And Jung-Hoo's been unbelievable the last few weeks. I think those two guys have been there the entire year.
Yeah, that's fair.
But it's really an interesting call. I don't think there's an obvious choice. And if it is going to end up being one, maybe we'll get surprised. Maybe there's some positional stuff that goes on. But it's going to be really interesting to kind of parse this and figure out who the dude is.
Now, I'll ask you this. If it was Casey Schmidt, how does that show up on the depth chart before the game? Does he go there as a DH? Does the All-Star game have just a utility slot?
I don't know. Maybe he gets to tell Dave Roberts. We'll just ask him, what position are you?
What do you want next to your name, man?
Yeah, my guess is he'd play infield in the game.
Yeah.
You can have enough outfielders. I don't think you need to throw him in left field, even though he made a terrific catch on Friday. But yeah, I don't. It's a really interesting one, and I think it's a little subplot here in the Arizona series, and in the next few days is like these guys are pretty neck and neck, I think, and I actually think we'll see what happens with the voting, and some of that can screw up position guys. There's guys who are undeserving who make it. But it's pretty neck and neck right now when you kind of go through everything.
Yeah. I want to, before we move on from talking Logan Webb, I want to pepper in a mailbag question from listener David. David asks, where does Logan Webb stand all time for SF Giants starting pitchers? There's the Hall of Famers, Marichal and Perry, and the World Series winners, Timmy, Bum, and Kane. Does Webb fall right after those guys? Is he tied with Jason Schmidt?
It's a great question. I think the postseason thing is really difficult to overcome, and it is through no fault of his own, because he was maybe the best player on the field in the National League Division Series. In his first real breakout season, and we've seen him in the WBC. Like I think he'd be really good in any big game you put him in. He desperately wants to be in those games, but it is kind of the hole in his resume that Timmy has the Cy Youngs. Obviously, Timmy's Timmy.
But Timmy's an entirely different element.
Yeah, but I think Kane's probably the best comparison. And even when you go down to like run support and just kind of a horse for this rotation, just year after year after year. And Kane probably is underrated just because he was around those two other guys. But Kane does have the postseason, and he does have was it 12 where he pitched every clincher? Like he does have the postseason success and the 3 titles. And even though he, was some of them he wasn't, it was other guys leading the way. But I think I'd put Logan like in that Schmidt category right now. Assuming they don't trade him, assuming he stays here for a while, he's gonna end up, I think, top 6, top 7 franchise. He's climbing the leaderboards. Like you start to see it with every start. Like they're showing these stats where Logan's like passing Mike Krukow, passing Barry Zito, coming up on Kane and coming up on Bumgarner and things like that. But I think the postseason thing is what separates some of those guys. And obviously, Marichal and Perry early on in San Francisco Giants history, like they're Hall of Famers. So, but that is what is keeping him, I think, from jumping into that group ahead of him through no fault of his own. But it's just the reality of it.
Yeah, it's difficult to do this kind of debrief on a career that is still very much in progress, because I think the Matt Cain one's a great comp, especially because Matt Cain played his whole career only wearing the San Francisco Giants uniform. And up to this point, so is Logan Webb. Would love for that to continue. And if Logan Webb retired playing only as a Giant, he would absolutely be up there as an all-time San Francisco Giants pitcher. It's still weird to me knowing Tim Lincecum and Madison Bumgarner continue their careers elsewhere and don't get that same accolade. But we don't know what the future holds for him. We don't know if he tracks down that Cy Young. We don't know. I mean, with how they're playing right now, playoffs seem like a phantom dream. Seeing Logan Webb on the big stage seems like just it's not going to happen. But who knows? If the Giants manage to get him some postseason appearances, his career could be completely different.
Yeah, I mean, if you just look at the history of it and look at like guys who have pitched 500 innings for the San Francisco Giants, he is currently tied for 8th. He's 9th in ERA, right behind Jason Schmidt. He's 6th in total strikeouts. He's got a ways to go because the 5 guys ahead of him, which are the 5 guys we talked about: Marichal, Bumgarner, Lincecum, Kane, and Perry. Like that, he's 600 or 530 behind Perry. So he's got a ways to go. But I do think he's nudging up on that group. But yeah, he either needs the longevity here or needs the postseason, which is, again, he has done his part. But
yeah,
nobody's really helped get him there.
I pulled up the list in preparation for this question of the top Giants pitchers by WAR and BWAR, and I was shocked that only one of the 3 World Series guys cracks the top 10, and Mad Bum is in there at 9.
Yeah. So I do think he might end up with better regular season numbers as a Giant than those 3 guys. But Bum obviously has the trump card over everybody, and Timmy's got the Cy Young. So
and Kane has the perfect game.
Kane has the perfect game as well. So Logan has a bunch of really good starts.
Yes.
He's been terrific. He's second in franchise history, actually, if you look at this, second in FIP. So you look at just some of the advanced stuff, some of the raw stuff. He's right there. But I think that's why you
garnish. He needs that garnish that all those other guys have. The Hall of Fame garnish, the no-hitter perfect game garnish, the World Series garnish. He needs something like that.
I think he's passed. Yeah, I think he's passed or will soon pretty easily clear all the, the guys who are here for a long time, the Woodies, the Jason Schmidt, the guys who had that kind of success. But yeah, garnish is the exact way to put it. Like,
yes,
Wood is going to be the thing that puts him over the edge. So, and I do think he would do it if they got him in the postseason. But
yeah,
that's 25 other guys.
Yep, so. Exactly. That's not just on his shoulders. All right. Other big news out of this series is we finally got the return of Heliot Ramos. Giants have a good number of guys on the IL right now, and we're seeing them start to trickle back. This meant Buddy Kennedy was DFA'd. And we talked a lot about how the outfield kind of gave the Giants some flexibility to get Casey Schmidt in there. And as Bader and Ramos start to come back, that might open up some complications for this Giants roster.
Yeah, this felt like they kicked the can down the road like 3 days.
Yeah, as far as they could.
Yeah, like you'll be. Everyone thought I was taking a shot at them. I tweeted the news and said they don't really need the backup infielder anyway because they don't play the backups. But that's actually that's just a fact. Like they don't play the backups. So hold on, we got a tweet from the Giants or a text from the Giants. Oh, Buddy Kennedy traded to the Seattle Mariners for cash considerations. Look at that, live on the pod.
Stove is hot.
Right as we're talking about him.
Oh, right. That's true. Seconds after his name is mentioned, if you're a big fan of cash considerations, get that cash considerations jersey out.
Giants Mariners, they're back at it.
The old friend.
Buddy Kennedy, who last year was during the World Series was a winner on either end because he played for both the Dodgers and the Blue Jays. Is he going to do it again?
Are you talking about the Giants Mariners World Series that's loading for this year?
Is he going to do it again? Yeah. It felt like, he didn't play for the last 2.5 weeks. My only memory of him really, he got a couple pinch hits early. Nice guy, but a couple pinch hits early and obviously pitched as soon as he came back. But I think they're going to have to get another infielder here eventually. And more than that, it's not even like the infield thing because Tony doesn't use backups. And we've seen what happens when he does try to use a backup for one of his infielders. But obviously Sunday is the day when Willie Adames goes down with back pain for ball days. But, he has Casey and Casey can move around and Casey can fill in for any of those guys. And they don't have any long trips coming up. So it'd be really easy to get someone, the next day if they need an infielder. I think my concern with this configuration is assuming everyone's healthy. And, Bryce got the day off Sunday against Chris Sale, which it's fine. Like he had a slow week. He's certainly hasn't had a day off in a while. So if he sits on Monday, we'll emergency pod. But that one's fine. But I think my concern would just be you look at it and Schmidt's going to be in the outfield and Elliott's going to be in the outfield. And I think they're going to play Jung Hoo Lee in center field quite a bit until Harrison Bader gets back, which means you have a bench with 3 young outfielders not playing. And Drew Gilbert finds his way out there. They'd love for Cox to be able to run a little bit more. They haven't found the right spots. But someone like Barracoto, he alternately has shown that he's deserving of a big league shot. And I also think he's 24 and needs to be playing every day.
Yeah.
So I think they kick this can down the road a couple days and we'll see where this goes. And the Adames thing might force them to change it right away. But ultimately, I don't think it's good for the future of the Giants for 3 young outfielders to be sitting on the bench, knowing that Tony doesn't use his bench very much. And these guys aren't going to play a whole lot. So they need to figure that out, and they need to bite the bullet and make a tough decision with somebody. And I do think also like that guy would probably be back in like 3 or 4 weeks because we're under the assumption they're going to trade Luis Suarez and maybe more guys. So
Yeah.
they can find a spot for that guy soon. But right now, they're just, Barracoda's played like 4 games in the last 3 weeks, and they're terrific and at the big league level. But at some point, the guy's 24. He needs to be playing.
Yeah, as the team starts to focus on improving for the future, not so much improving for this year, absolutely need to be managing this young talent in the best way for the future and worrying less about what today's need is, I guess.
Yeah, I think, and I think that's the push and pull of right now. They're still, they are, despite what we talk about and despite what everybody else externally talks about, they look at it. And I think the easy move is like, hey, Jonah Cox doesn't really play. Like,
yeah.
Let him go play every day in AAA. He hasn't even been to Sacramento. Let him go play. But they look at it and go, he's a real weapon off the bench, and could change a game for them at some point. It hasn't happened yet, but I do think at some point they're going to have to commit to either wiping some guys off this roster so the young guys can play, or send some of those young guys back to AAA and let them go play every day, let them develop, because that's the whole point for 24-year-olds.
Yeah. As we're talking about beloved San Francisco Giants outfielders, I'd love to take some time to talk Mike Yastrzemski here on Giants Talk. Oracle Park played Yaz a fabulous video tribute. I think of all the trades, the not re-signings, the moves that have been made over the past few years, Mike Yastrzemski leaving the Giants was the one I heard the most about from Giants fans.
It is funny. I think a lot of people are still like, I mean, I saw it because I tweeted out the video and saw the reaction to it. I think a lot of people are still sad, and it's like, well, it had to be done.
Yeah.
And he wasn't going to be here this year. So, but he was a very popular Giant. There were some people in some corners of the internet who balked at the, I don't know if you're in these corners, I end up in them, but who balked at the video. First of all, it's like, there's a pretty low baseline for anybody anywhere to get a little love when they go back to a place they played. Second, I didn't quite realize this until I just kind of dug into it during Friday's game. Do you realize he played more games as a Giants outfielder than Hunter Pence?
Wow. No, I did not realize that.
He was here a long time and played a lot of games.
And one of those was a truncated season.
Yeah, he was he's seventh most games played among San Francisco Giants outfielders, right between Chili Davis and Hunter Pence. He's 8th among all-time SF Giants outfielders in wins above replacement, 6th in homers. The only Giants outfielder in the last 20 years to hit 100 total homers with the team, which is including some other guys who,
yeah.
Hunter Pence is part of that. Hunter was excellent, won a World Series. He's a legend here. I think he's on the Wall of Fame already. This is no knock on him. This is just it was sneaky how long Yaz was here and how big a part of it he was for a really long time.
Yaz had everything you need to be like beloved. He had such a good story. Basically, he is, as the Giants trade for prospects and as the Giants kind of like were panning for gold in the Farhan era, he is exactly what everyone was looking for all along.
Yeah.
This guy who didn't make it to the big leagues until he was almost 30. And then look, he's got half a decade left in the tank and immediately becomes a beloved fan favorite. He has a great history with his grandfather, super, from everything I've heard, awesome teammate and really, really nice guy, and just played that outfield like a monster.
Willie Mack Award winner. He was
right.
Excellent in right field. This is something I don't think he would say, but I'll say it because I saw it. Like, he had multiple charity groups out there on Friday that he had worked with when he was in San Francisco, nice. Including a young kid who he met 4 years ago that he kept in touch with. So he did everything right. If you're anti-Yaz, you're just kind of a weirdo, I think. Like, look, he wasn't a superstar, but he was just a very consistent, like, 2-win player every single year. And honestly, you look at the 2026 team, like, they're missing some finds like that. Like, they're missing the, this guy came out of nowhere and is 28 years old, 29, and he's become a real good glue piece for this team. He was a good glue piece for what they did.
Yeah, I think people like that are the people very similar to the Braves fans we discussed earlier, but the people who the Giants post literally anything behind the scenes on Instagram and get in the comments saying, just focus on winning games. Look, the marketing team's not in charge of winning the games. They're in charge of putting together cool videos for Mike Yastrzemski, and I'm glad they did it.
Yeah, it was very well deserved. The only thing that bummed me out was I thought they should have put the Mauricio Dubon beer photo up there. It's like
as his scoreboard photo.
Yeah, first inning, yes. Second inning, Dubon sipping the beer after putting the bunt down. This is why I'm not in charge of the marketing department, because I have bad ideas like that. I'd get shot down on a Zoom call.
But, yes. I mean, Dubon is one of those guys. Wasn't a Giant long enough to have the same kind of respect that Yaz got. Obviously, when he left, it was because they were choosing between him and someone that they deemed better. But his story as well, it's heartbreaking that he couldn't see that out as a Giant. And it's really cool to see him blossom into a Gold Glove winner, a ring holder.
Yeah.
All of the above.
He told me he wanted to come back because he kind of knew he was going to get traded. But my first thought was, huh. And my second thought was, well, Casey Schmidt is doing that. And
yes,
Dubon's a better fielder, but Schmidt's a better hitter right now. So, but he's fun, man. John Shea and I went to talk to him, and he's talking about the group they have over there. There's like 8 people, and he was like, "We're Capper's rejects," and I'm like, "Good line." Not totally, doesn't totally
maybe not lore accurate, but a good name.
Tom Smith didn't play for him, but it was he's a fiery guy. So they're gonna be a fun team for us to watch from here in the postseason, because we know, and then Dom Smith's just in the middle of it, just
right there.
Professional at bat.
Yeah. All right. I want to take some time to get to mailbag questions from listeners. We didn't do any last week, so we have an extra large mailbag block today. Plus, we of course have to preview Giants at D-backs as the Giants head to scorching hot Arizona. Temperature-wise, gameplay-wise.
I moved the mailbag question up to the top here because it made perfect sense for the Yes discussion.
Oh, let's. This is a tease. We're going to give you guys a taste of the mailbag questions before we get to all of them. First question is from Tim. Figure you guys are the perfect ones to answer this. Where's the dividing line for Forever Giant or Good Giant?
I think we are the right people for this question.
That's right up our alley. Right.
I think Forever Giant has become kind of something you can joke about, or at least we can joke about.
I mean, it depends on how you say Forever Giant, right? Like there are like actual Forever Giants. These are like the guys who have the plaques at Oracle Park, the numbers retired, the lincecums, the statues, the guys people have tattoos of. And then there's like, uppercase, lowercase, Forever Giant.
I think my dividing line for the actual like uppercase is, like a Yes, the Wilmer Flores comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who fits in there. I'm sure you could think of lots of relievers who would fit in. Like George Contos spent a ton of time in San Francisco. He's got ingrained in the community. But then there is also like and we'll joke about it, and we'll do remembering some guys and do, Forever Giant Mike Papierski. So
Forever Giant Dan Ugla.
Forever Giant Otto Lopez, National League batting leader right now. God. So I think there's 2 different ways to do it, but there's like capital F, lowercase f. Yes.
And Good Giant is kind of, I don't know, is that the in-between bracket? Or are you saying Good Giant is below all of these? Just kind of like when we're doing remembering some guys and we name a catcher who played 3 games with the Giants and got DFA'd somewhere, they're Good Giant.
I think those are lowercase Forever Giants.
Okay.
Good Giant, I think of like, like Dom didn't play enough games, but someone like that.
Okay.
Like Kevin Gausman, Good Giant or Forever Giant?
Forever Giant. But I think I probably have a very low threshold for what is a capital F Forever Giant. Yeah. I'm the kind of guy who wants everyone in the Hall of Fame. Big Hall, big Forever Giant, big everything. Put statues in every square footage of the ballpark.
We'll have to think about this one more. It's a great question.
I mean, what I would love to do is you and I workshop an actual like statistic. You know how the Wall of Fame has
Threshold
qualifiers, like actual concrete. Hey, we know you guys love so and so, but does not meet the qualifiers. We make actual criteria and rubric.
And then 4 years later, do the Giants thing and be like, "Hey, we need to put these guys on the wall, so we're changing our." Yeah, it's a great question. I'd be curious to hear what people think, but I think there's a pretty wide. Yeah, I think there's a wide gap of like the joking Forever Giant and the actual Forever Giant, and Good Giant probably fits in between there.
Yeah,
But it is hard to figure out. Like, is a and then there's the group that I think is none of them. Like, even though they put,
yeah.
like where would you put Blake Snell?
Oh, okay. That kind of group, just a Giant.
Was
Simply
here?
a Giant.
It's a Giant.
Former Giant. How about that?
Former
Giant,
Yeah.
Blake Snell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Former Giant, Carlos Rodon.
That's the other guy who came to mind. So, like, where would you put John Brebbia? Like, Good Giant?
See, that this is where the criteria is going to get difficult because that's like fun Giant, good hang, but I don't know that he had enough like actual on-field accolades to be Forever Giant. And he's certainly not the joking Forever Giant.
So Good
All
Giant?
Right. We'll cook up a rubric. If anyone listening has suggestions for what they think this this formula is going to be, send them our way. We're the same place you send our mailbag questions, and Alex and I will debut something special in the.
You know what this is? This is a lockout episode. Just that.
Oh yeah, we're tabling this for 10 months. Let's go.
December 17th this year. This is a whole episode.
Great.
We'll come up with it.
That means I get half a year to kick this down the curb and
you have
get about it until then.
All
right. Before we get to the rest of our mailbag questions, Giants Talk is presented by Mancini Sleep World. Mancini Sleep World offers high-quality mattresses for ultimate comfort and support, so you wake up energized and refreshed every morning. Mancini's has been helping people sleep better for over 50 years. They've built a reputation for top-quality mattresses and exceptional customer service. Stop by or visit online to see what's currently available. All right, Alex, our second, I guess, question here is from John. John says, if Chapman gets traded within the month, who would play which position? Schmidt, Devers, Eldridge, between first, third, and DH. Would they ever trade places, or would Bryce always be a DH as long as Devers is there? Would Rafi ever go back to third for a bit?
He's not playing third. He's not playing third. So
fair. Easy answer.
I don't think they're going to trade Matt Chapman. If they ever would, it would be so Casey Schmidt could play third base every day. And there's your easy fill-in. So yeah. Or, somebody, we've talked about kind of the middle infield mess they have coming. One of those guys could also end up at third base down the line. But it's not going to be, of the guys they have currently, it'd be Casey, and that's it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cameron says, with the proposed salary floor, do you think teams would be more likely to take on contracts of Adames, Devers, and Chapman, knowing they wouldn't have to give up too much for expensive, underperforming players?
We've gotten this question a few times, and I think it's a good question, and it's the proper question that people are thinking ahead on that. I think we're so far from, and we are actively trying to avoid the back and forth between.
That's what I was going to say, Alex. You're getting dangerously close to going against our promise not to talk.
Yeah, it's ridiculous for MLB to put a ridiculous proposal out in the Players Association to come right back, and then we hear from agents, then we hear from this guy and this guy. Whatever, go in a room, figure it out. We all want baseball. But having said that, I do think the important thing here is that there's such a wide gap here, and there's so much uncertainty about. I don't think there's uncertainty about what's going to happen. I think people pretty much assume there's going to be a break, at least in the offseason. But there's uncertainty about where this ends up. So you can't make a move in July assuming that there's a floor next year, because who knows? But if that does go into place, and if there's kind of a quick, wild west free agency for a few weeks in February or March of 2027, that would be an important factor here, I think, in if a floor goes into place in calling some of these teams and being like, we know this because we see it in other sports,
Yeah.
sports that do this. Like, it is very common to just be like, hey, we're going to dump this salary on you, and
Great.
this is
We
what
need
it's
some
going to be.
salary.
Yeah, and it's, ordinarily you'd worry about the salary, but if you are the Las Vegas Athletics and you have to get to 140 million or whatever, or if you're the Marlins and you have to get to whatever the number is, you might, things will happen faster. So
Yeah.
I don't think it's a conversation for this trade deadline. I do think it's going to play into the offseason if that ends up being a real part of where the CBA goes.
Yeah. Duncan asks, how do front offices evaluate minor league players against major league ones in trade deals? Are they evaluating the chance the minor leaguer makes it to the big league club or something else?
This is like scrambling my brain on that. I think younger guys, prospects right now have such a high standing. It's insane. Like, even guys who are young and reach the big leagues and there's some failure, like, pretty quickly the prospect star comes off of them. But you talk to executives and that's part of the Giants issue right now is like they are willing to be active right now, and teams are just like, we're holding everybody. Like, that's our 27th best prospect. We're, that guy's gold. Not making a move until August 2nd at 11 p.m. or whatever, whenever they decide. So the young guys, the guys who are not on big league rosters, those guys have I don't know if this is what I was asking, but those guys have a vastly overrated, I think, in a lot of ways, kind of appeal to them.
Yeah, it's like Schrodinger's cat of trade deals. Like, once we find out at the big league level that they are or are not good, we have an answer. But as long as they're a little bit of a mystery box, that extra glimmer gives them value.
Yeah, it really is like it, and it works both ways. You can take advantage of it, but it is those guys really have a ton of value. Especially the guys like A ball, double A. Even you get to triple A and you're there for a little bit and people go like, what's wrong with this guy? So,
Yeah.
But yeah, the young guys have a ton of value, and it is why I love when you can, and the Giants have done this a couple times the last couple of years, like throw the 18-year-old in that deal. Like, get the 18-year-old lefty and just see what happens when he's like the third or fourth guy in the deal that comes together at the last second. But teams are holding everybody tight right now.
Or what about the 29-year-old longtime AAA guy who turns out to be Mike Yastrzemski?
Those guys are basically free.
Exactly.
So, which is what, it was one thing Farhan was good at was evaluating those guys and going, it is basically free to get these guys.
Yeah. And if you do enough of them, they finally hit.
Yes, Wade, those, it's free.
Yeah.
Comparatively.
Yeah. Question from Nick. It seems like the Giants do not perform well with expectations on them. 2 years ago, when they became mathematically eliminated, they started to cook in Baltimore and went on a streak. Last year, we saw the same thing when they were almost eliminated from contention. Why do you think that is? Organizational, coaching? Because expectations sort of come with playing in the Bay.
Facts, Nick. Like, the most factual thing anyone said on this podcast.
Yeah.
I have asked a ton of people about this. I don't have a good answer for you. This is not good talk radio or podcasting. I don't know. I really do not know. And I think this is like a fundamental thing they're trying to figure out. And the fundamental reason why we've seen so much turnover here the last few years is it is really hard to figure out why sometimes this team looks like world beaters, generally does not. And also, to this guy's point, like, they do have a hard time with the lights. Like, it is just something where when they get close, and we joke about it. Like, it's become such a thing that, like, we joke about, like, well, of course they're going to run off, 3 in a row now. Of course they're going to go on a little run after the trade deadline this year. Like, last year, I think in August, we were like, yep, most obvious thing ever. They trade everybody, and then late August, early September, here they are. Like, we're looking at the New York Mets in the wild card race.
Yep, and all they need is a reliever that they traded away.
Yeah, and then you also knew, I think we also knew the entire time, this isn't going to happen, because at some point in September, they're going to have a couple big games, and it's going to go the other way. I don't know the answer. I think they need to figure it out, and I don't even think it's like a club. Like they've changed everybody over. Some of the leaders, like it's not a Logan Webb thing.
No.
So yeah, I don't know the answer to it.
They need to hire the sports psychologist from Ted Lasso. Whatever has not been sage the clubhouse, whatever has not been attempted, start attempting those things.
Like Tony has some Ted Lasso in him.
That's true. It's like the exact plot of Ted Lasso almost. He's a college guy coming up.
Yeah, it's a very minor version, but like last week, like you go and you beat the Braves, and then you go to Florida and get swept. And everybody, I think, knew like there's a decent chance they're gonna get swept this weekend because it got real for a second.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I will say, I think just psychology wise, doesn't everything start getting a little easier and breezier when the expectations are gone? Like everything in your life, like once, if you're at the casino, once you're playing with house money, you're a little more frivolous, you're not as uptight, and you start winning a little more. When you're goofing around with your friends, that's when you're hitting 3-point buckets at the playground that you would absolutely not in a real pickup game. Or that's when you hit the drive of your life because you just feel a little loosey-goosey.
The best golf I play is when I don't golf for like 6 months.
Exactly.
The one thing I would disagree here with is the concept of expectations sort of come with playing.
I was going to say that.
I don't think there's like a lot thrown at this group. Like
we're not the Yankees.
Yeah, people are like, just please win 84 games and compete for the third wild card spot. You'd be heroes this year.
Yes, exactly. That is an interesting one though. All right, question from Curly Lee. Can I get an update on the bench calling pitches? I wonder if that's a factor within their comfort with Jesus Rodriguez taking game calling off his plate. This is one that clearly has been on our list for a while.
Yeah, but there's been some back and forth about this recently. Some of the pitchers have, taken some game calling back. I think it hasn't been great. It's not coming from the bench, but just in terms of, the game calling from the catchers who took over for Patrick Bailey. We should mention Drew Kavanaugh's here now. He was added to the 40-man. And I think part of that is, there are some concerns about where Rodriguez is at right now in terms of they still really believe in the bat. They still really believe in the player, but he has some work to do defensively. And I think you've seen Eric Haas has struggled a little bit, and there's been, it's been a lot thrown at Tuzak, and is trying to figure that out as well. So yeah, they are definitely missing the guy back there. And that is something that, going into next year, they're going to need to be a little bit more buttoned up. We joke about how many catchers you run through, but also there's an element of like Patrick Bailey knew all these guys inside and out. And when they keep trying new guys, like these are two, whoever thought it would be Eric Haas and Drew Kavanaugh on June 28th. Like, yeah. And they're drinking through a fire hose right now, trying to learn the entire staff.
Yeah. I've always been kind of surprised that we, as sports fans, as sports media, don't tie pitcher wins, pitcher performances a little bit more to who is catching that day because of how big that skill set is. Obviously, pitcher can shake them off. Pitcher has to actually throw the pitch. But you see guys who are the best at what they do behind the plate, and they just carry a staff.
Yeah. I think if you watch the Giants every day this year, you do see you're like, okay, it's you. Maybe you're still okay with the Bailey trade because he wasn't hitting, and it is what it is. But like, you do see the difference day to day in what's been going on without him. So,
next question is from Colin. Do you think the Bailey trade reflects the Giants front office projecting full ABS sooner rather than later? Trading the best framing catcher in baseball feels very different if framing is still valuable 5 years from now versus becoming mostly irrelevant in 2 or 3.
It's a good question. I don't think it has anything to do with that because, let's say it happens 3 years from now. I think Patrick would be a free agent anyway. So exactly. Right there. He got traded at a time when nobody in front of him was hitting and they felt like they were going to go with the offense behind the plate. And you look back and go, well, if any of these guys was hitting, it'd be if Jung-Hoo was doing what he was doing right now. I don't know that Patrick Bailey gets traded just because you have that slight boost to the lineup and you don't have to worry about him as much. But the other thing I think that this brings to mind that hasn't been talked about that much is like he was going to be arbitration eligible this offseason. So he was starting to get not expensive, but like more expensive than
Yeah.
he has been. And you reach a point where you start looking around and go, okay, it's one thing to pay the 850,000. But do you want to pay 3 million, 4 million, whatever it is? So I think that played into it more than any thoughts about ABS.
Yeah. Question from Brian. Oh, this is a good one. Is there a food at the ballpark that's gone that you guys missed? For me, I missed the Trace nacho stand. It's been a decade, and I still think about those nachos.
Easy, the 2025 chicken tenders when we won the war, and then I don't know what's happened.
The first one that came to mind for me was fish and chips, because I think they used to have a really good fish and chips that was served at like the Murph's Irish Pub stand. But I looked it up and they still have them. They're just sold with the crab sandwiches now. So the line is like a mile long. But I'm gonna get myself those fish and chips to see if they hold up. Other than ballpark food, because I don't think there's really any ballpark food ones I miss. I do miss a lot of the restaurants and bars that were around the ballpark area a decade plus ago. That scene was great. Like HRD, that donut spot right across from the ballpark that did burgers and stuff too. Obviously, Pete's and Pedro's. It was a great scene out there.
HRD was a good, like,
I love HRD, dude.
On the way from the studio to the ballpark.
You get that Mongolian cheesesteak.
That's a good one. Yeah, it is one thing I think that's been missing the last few years. That's a good point. Like some of the stuff around, like, all right, there's a Taco Bell cantina, but there used to be a lot more food options.
Yeah, and obviously something like HRD isn't impacted by this, but I do wonder how much the 6:45 start times impact the viability of some of these big sports bars right there by the ballpark.
Yeah, I think I've said this here before. The stuff on the other side, over on the other side of the cove, promising, I think.
Oh, Quick Dog is quickly becoming my go-to spot.
But just you can get almost anything you want out there. I mean, I think there's an Ike's, there's a pizza place, there's a salad place. So that is promising. I wish it was all right across the street, but.
Have you been to Via Aurelia?
I have not. I would like to go. Have you?
I have not either. One of my buddies helped build it. He was like the project manager for the construction, but for a while I assumed it was related to Rich Aurelia.
Well, it feels like you and I have to go with Rich Aurelia.
Let's go. We'll bring a camera. We can expense it.
We'll do it.
All right. One more question today before we get to our D-backs conversation. And this one ties right in. Scott says, I'm going to see the Giants take on Alex's D-backs at the end of June. In your professional chicken tender enthusiast opinion, do they have good tenders at Chase Field? And are they worth buying? Or do you recommend any other food at the stadium? This kind of ties in. We talked about how when the Giants go on road trips, we want to highlight the away team's stadium, some of the places you should eat there. And maybe we need to just fold in if we know how good is the chicken at this ballpark.
Oh, I get this question from people a lot in like Instagram DMs. My general advice to people going to that ballpark is to eat before you get there. Or not just
way harsh, Ty.
Well, part of it is like if you're staying in Scottsdale, there's so much good food in Scottsdale. Eat that. Come to the ballpark and have a hot dog or whatever. But they have like the taste of Chase. It's fine. It's not nothing stands out. They do have a Chick-fil-A there that is very busy.
I will say Oracle Park isn't really one of these stadiums, but isn't Chase Field one of the stadiums that has like the insane food options? I'm not saying variety, just like has, I don't know, a burger made out of churros with hot dogs on it or whatever.
And I've tried a few of those and they were all excellent. So
really?
Yeah, like I had like the churros dog.
I suspected those kind of things would be awful.
No, they do it with sweets a lot and they do a good job. Like the churro dog was really good.
Okay.
So if you want to do that, but like just in terms of like the actual ballpark, I've made that lap a few times in recent years, just walked around all of Chase. Like there's got to be something here that there's not a lot. Not a lot.
I'm looking at their new items right now. They have a baguette chicken parm and pastrami. They have a 120-ounce nacho bucket, which is wild. And an elote corn dog, foot long, which sounds great.
I had the elote pizza at the ballpark last week.
What's up?
Unbelievable.
Is that a Tony's Pizza or
It is Tony's. It was a special event, but it should be every Saturday. That's all I'm going to say.
I'm sad I missed that.
It was good. But yeah, it's the chicken tenders at Chase have never stood out. I would, if you're saying it's Scottsdale, eating Scottsdale.
Okay. All right. With that, let's get to Giants at Diamondbacks as they head towards Chase Field. Alex, do we have probable pitchers?
We do. It is Tyler Mahle versus Eduardo Rodriguez, the lefty who's been excellent. Landon Root versus TBA, and then Trevor McDonald versus Zach Gallen, who's been shockingly bad. But
he's still Zach Gallen.
It's still Zach Gallen. So, and obviously the Giants have had a rough time with the Arizona Diamondbacks this year.
They absolutely have. Giants are 0-6 against the D-backs. The D-backs are coming off getting swept by the Rays. So they're not a hot team. The Giants aren't red hot, but they do have a little more momentum coming into this. What do we think? I mean, is this a series where we're looking for anything in particular? Is this like, ooh, if they do this one thing, it's a good sign for the rest of the year? Are we just sticking with, we get to find out maybe who the all-star is. Maybe the trade candidates will keep playing well, and we can keep an eye on that, and let's get closer to 500.
We have said this here before and been proven wildly wrong within like 48 hours, but the Diamondbacks have not generally been very good, other than like if you take out the Giants series, that's keeping them afloat in the wild card race.
Okay.
That's not a joke. That's just like, seriously, that's keeping them afloat standings wise. The Rockies are after that. The Blue Jays and Rockies are the next homestand. The Blue Jays have not been very good this year. If ever there was a time for the 2026 San Francisco Giants to play good baseball for a couple weeks, this is it. And we've said this before, and they have not played good baseball. But yeah, schedule-wise, the next couple weeks are not difficult.
Alex, you called it. If the Giants had swept the D-backs instead of vice versa, their records would be flipped.
Yeah, they're
exactly 6 games.
Yeah, so they're not. They're fine. They're just like this next. There's really all of July.
Yeah. They're sneaky fine.
Really, all of July. Like it is right there for the Giants to at least, like, I'm not saying get in the wild card race, but avoid the 96 loss season.
Yeah, it would be nice if at the end of this year we could look back and gripe like, oh, if only they weren't so bad at the beginning, rather than, wow, that whole season was just a bummer.
Yeah, I mean, really, you go through the next couple months, it's not a whole lot there. So,
all right, well, we'll be here, win or lose. We're hoping for wins, but either way, thanks for listening to Giants Talk. Thanks for listening to Giants Talk this whole first half of the year. I know it didn't go how we expected, but maybe it turns around going forward. Until then, don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast. Give us a glowing review if you're a fan. Don't bother reviewing if you're not. Buy Alex's book, buy Dusty Baker's book. Send us mailbag questions wherever you can find us on social media. Anything else before we let them go?
No, we'll see you guys on Thursday.
Yeah. Oh, let us know your criteria for a good Giant. I'm curious to know if anyone else's differs than ours.